Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Meseches KEREISOS Daf Chav Gimel. We begin at the Mishnah Chav Beis and Beis, around 7 lines from the bottom, in connection with the previous Mishnah where we learned about a two-tone carbon, the same carbon that can be used for two purposes. Likewise, begins the Mishnah with a similar example, and then we move on to actually 5 scenarios which entail questions of Asham Taloi and sharing an Asham, as we're going to see. So we begin with Isha, who gave birth, who typically brings keves for an oila and a bird for a chatas. Let's say she's unsure whether she had a halachically valid birth, which necessitates the carbon. So there's a halacha, then in that case, she'll still bring the same set of karbanos on account, on the chance. Ha'isha she'evia chatas so'if. And there's a girsa, Safik. She brought it out of an uncertainty. So she brings the keves for the oila and the bird for the chatas, just in case. Now, there was some development. If before they processed the oif, the malika, they clip off the head, if before that happened, the bird is still around, noidela, she discovered shiodavade, that actually was a valid birth, which necessitates these karbanis. No problem. Tasanavade, just proceed, as though it's a definite carbon. Shemimin, because it's the same type. Shemevi alava aloida, that you would bring when she knows, mevi aloyad, she'll bring when she doesn't know. So it's the same exact bird, just relabel it. Okay, now we begin the list of 5 different types of circumstances where there was some confusion in terms of what he ate and in terms of the carbon that he has to bring. We begin. Chaticha shel chulin, chaticha shel hekdesh. He had 2 pieces of meat or whatever. One mundane, ordinary material, permissible. The other one belongs to hekdesh. And when you partake in hekdesh, unauthorized use of hekdesh triggers me'ilah. Me'ilah would require him to bring an asham, a carbon asham vadai, if he knows for sure. But if he doesn't know for sure, what happens? Like in this case, he ate one, not sure which one. Achal achas mehen. One of these 2 pieces he ate. Not sure which one. Was it the okay one or the hegdish? Potter. There's no carbon for that. Rabbi Kiva Machayev Asham Tali. Rabbi Kiva says there is a carbon. Asham Tali, as we learned yesterday. When you're unsure about me'ilah, there is an asham tali applied, just like when you're unsure about eating chalev. No difference. Now, let's say ochal echa es hashniya. He proceeded and had the second piece as well. Now, he's confirmed to have done me'ilah. Either way, he did me'ilah. Maybe asham vadai. Now, he brings an asham vadai for the me'ilah. Let's say there were 2 people. Ochal echad sarishayna. Reuben ate one of these 2 pieces. One was chulin, one was hegdish. Got mixed up. He ate one. We're not sure what he ate. Now, Shimon came and ate the second. So between both of them, certainly the hegdish was eaten, but we don't know who is the culprit. Once again, according to Rekiva, Asham Tali is the way to go. Zeh maybe Asham Tali, V'zeh maybe Asham Tali. Divrei Rekiva. Reuben and Shimon both bring an Asham Tali, 1 per person, just in case. They ate the hekdesh. Rabbi Shimon Omer, don't bother bringing 2. Join together. Team up. Contribute to 1 carbon, an asham vadai, and say, look, if I'm the culprit, it's mine. If you're the culprit, I forgive my part, it's yours. Because since they know that between the 2 of them, 1 certainly ate, that's enough to qualify for yediyah, for knowledge, for discovery of the fact. So we know that the carbon is owned by the 1 who ate, and that's enough to activate the Asham Vadai system and process it accordingly. Rabbi Shimon Omer shnein, maybe an Asham echad. Rabbi Yossi Omer, you can't team up. Next Amud, ein shnayim maybe an Asham echad. That's not considered knowing. That's not considered awareness. I can't identify. I can't pinpoint who did it. So it doesn't work. What then do you do? So Rashi says we go back to one of the 2 options. Either like Rabbi Akiva, each one brings an asham tali for himself, or according to Chachamim, they're potter. Next case. You have a choice between chelev, which if you would eat it, there's chatos. If you're not sure, there's asham tali. And just a regular piece who's fully okay. You're not sure which one you ate. Chatichas chelev, chatichas chulin, achal achas man, you ate one. There is man achal, not sure which one. Maybe asham tali. That's a classic asham tali because he may have eaten chelev. Achal sashni, he ate the second piece. Now it confirms that he ate chelev. Because either way, maybe chatas. Let's say there are two people involved. Reuven ate one piece. Shimon ate the second. Very similar to the previous story. So each fellow really has a suffix. He may have eaten chelev. Zeh may be asham tali. V'zeh may be asham tali. Each one brings an asham tali on account of his possible infraction. Reb Shimon Omer, why bother being separate? Join together. Reb Shimon Omer shnei mevin chatas achas. Join together and buy one chatas for both of you. Rabbi Yisrael Omer, you can't do that. Ein shnei mevin chatas achas. Rather, you go back to the asham tali system. Each fellow brings asham tali independent of his friend. Next story, chatichas chelev, chatichas kodesh. Now they're both aser for different reasons. This is chelev, which would trigger the kares chatas system. Chatichas kodesh next to it, which would trigger the meila system, the asham vadai system. Ochal achas mehen, he ate one. Not sure which one. There is mehen ochal. Was it the chelev? Was it the kodesh? Maybe asham tali. He means asham tali because he may have eaten the chelev. Likewise, he may have eaten kodesh. And here Rashi says, even Rabbi Akiva would not obligate him a double asham tali, because the fact is, there was really one avera, Rashi calls it. One avera, suffik chelev, suffik kodesh. It may have been chelev, may have been kodesh. It's considered like one suffik. In which case, it's covered by one asham tali. Shittim Gobetzes puts it a bit differently. He says, even though there are two types of issues, but since it's in one helim and one lapse of unawareness, so then one asham tali protects him for both possible, issues. Now he went on and had the second piece. Okay, so now he's good for a chatas and an asham vadai, because he ate chelev and he ate hegdish. Maybe chatas but asham vadai. Suppose it's two people. Achal echad shayna. Reuven ate one piece. Uva achar and Shimon came along. V'achal ate the second piece. Zeh maybe asham tali. V'zeh maybe asham tali. So now each one independently has to bring an asham tali on account of his possible violation. Rabbi Shimon Omer join together. Shnei mevin chatas v'asham. Contribute to one chatas and one asham, and make that conditional arrangement. Whoever it's for will get the kapara, because between both of them, there was something that triggered the chatas, eating of the chelev, and something that triggered the asham, eating of the hekdesh. Rabbi Yisrael, once again, you cannot join forces when it comes to these karbonos of atonement. Ein shnai mevin chatas v'asham echad. Next story, chatichas chelev kodesh. This is chelev and that's chelev, but also kodesh. Ochal achas man, he ate one. Venue there is mehen ochal. Not sure which one. Maybe chatas. He's certainly good for a chatas because either way he ate chelev. Rekiva Omer, af asham tali. Also that because he may have eaten the hegdish. According to Rekiva, there's asham tali for a suffik hegdish. Ochal sashni ate the second piece. Now he's good for three karbones: chelev, and hegdish. Maybe shnei chatois, one each for the chelev, v'asham vadei for the hegdish. Ochal echad rishon. Reuven ate one piece. V'achar v'achal shnei Shimon the second piece. Zeh maybe chatas, v'zeh maybe chatas. Each one's good for a chatas because of the chelev. Rabbi Akiva Omer, zeh maybe asham tali as well, because each one had a possible hegdish encounter. Rabbi Shimon Omer just join together. Zeh maybe chatas, v'zeh maybe chatas. Each one has to bring a chatas for sure because he ate chelev. But regarding the third issue, join together. V'shnei nevim asham echad, because of the hegdish that they ate between the two of them. Rabbi Yisrael Omer, once again, ein shnei mevin asham echad. You can't join together. Next case, chatichas chelev noiser. You have chelev alongside the chelev, which happens to be noiser as well, which would trigger another reason for a chatas. Ochal achas men ate one, not sure which one. Many days men ochal, maybe chatas v'asham toli. She brings a chatas because he certainly ate the chelev, but there's a suffix about the noiser. For that he brings the asham toli. Ochel Sashni ate the second one as well. Now it triggers 3 karbanos. Maybe gimel chatois. 1 each for the chelev and another one for the noiser. Ochel echat Rishon, Reuven ate 1. Uba'ach echad Rav Ochel Hashni, Shimon ate the second one. Then maybe Ash chatos, Asham Tali. Reuven has to bring a chatas and also an Asham Tali because he may have encountered the noiser as well. And the same with Shimon. Then maybe a chatas Asham Tali. Shimon Aimer. Then maybe chatas, then maybe chatas. Each one brings a chatas for sure for the chelev. But regarding the third one, let them join together. Ushnein mivin chatas achas. Once again, chol chatas shibal chet. A chatas which comes to atone, Rashi says, opposed to a chatas of a yeledis, which is coming to purify, to cleanse. That's a different system. That you could join forces. But here you can't bring it as a partnership. Ein shnayim mivin ois. Okay, the Gemara will refer back to the second case of the Mishnah, which is actually on the top of our Amid. It was a choice between chelev and chulin. Not sure which one he ate. What happens? That's a classic Asham Toli. He ate the second piece, he's confirmed for a chatas. If it's 2 people, each one brings an Asham Toli. Shimon says, join together for 1 chatas. Rabbi Yossi says, you can't join together. Now, what do they bring according to Rabbi Yossi? So it would seem that he goes back to what the Tanna Kama said. If joining together is not an option, so there's Nashim Tali per person. According to Rabbi Yossi, what do you do? I know we don't join together, but how do you proceed, Rabbi Yossi? Chatus le'maisu shneim. They can't bring together 1 chatas, right? That's understood. Hashim Tali, maisu shneim. So each one will bring his own Hashim Tali. Hainu Tanna Kama. It's exactly what Tanna Kama said. Why is he repeating this? Perhaps there was a slight difference between Tanna Kama and Rabbi Yossi. Regarding that general question of what kind of suffix do we need to trigger the Asham Tali? Is it enough to have just 1 piece whose identity, whose status is unknown? Or do you have to have a choice between 2 pieces in front of you? 1 good and 1 bad, and you ate 1, you're not sure? Perhaps that's the point of discussion here. Perhaps you'll say, the question of chaticha, in order to trigger the Asham Tali, does it have to be that he's eating 1 piece out of 2? Perhaps that's the point between them. Rashi explains, Tanna Kama will hold, it's not necessary. So in this case, Reuven ate the first piece. By the time Shimon came along, there was only 1 piece left. He didn't have a choice of 1 of 2. So Reuven brings Asham Tali, but not Shimon, because he doesn't have that element of Shtei Chatichas. So that's Rabbi Yossi's opinion. Rabbi Yossi will hold. They don't join together as 1 chatas. Rather, what happens? Reuven brings Asham Tali, because at his point, he had 2 pieces to speak of. Whereas Shimon is exempt from Asham Tali because he didn't have 2 pieces by the time he came along. Tanna Kama will hold. No, that's not needed. As long as there's a suffix on the status of this piece, that's enough to trigger the Asham Tali. In this case, Reuven brings Asham Tali, and Shimon as well, despite there only being 1 piece by the time he came along. So would that be the point of machlokes? You can't say that. You can't say according to Rabbi Yossi. Only Reuven brings and not Shimon. By the time we have a brisa, Rabbi Yossi both bring Asham Tali. Zeh maybe Asham Tali, v'zeh, and Shimon as well maybe Asham Tali. So now we don't have any difference between the 2 positions. So why the repetition in the Mishnah? Amar Lisi says actually it is the same person. Kamashwan, the point of the Mishnah is to point out, the man Tanna Kama Rabbi Yossi, that actually the opinion of the Tanna Kama is Rabbi Yossi. Rashi, Mesachas Shabbos, in a similar Gemara says that the Tana just was unmindful. He forgot that in fact it was, who the source was, and then he remembered that it was Rabbi Yossi, so he made a point of mentioning it, that we know who is the author of that opinion. Chatichas chelev, chatichas kodesh, that's the next case in the Mishnah. Then we have chatichas chelev, kodesh, that's the next case. And finally we have chatichas chelev noiser. He wasn't sure whether he ate the chelev or the chelev which happened to be noiser as well. Now, the Mishnah says that if actually he ate both, he has to bring 3. 1 chatas for the chelev, 1 chatas for chelev, and 1 for the noiser. But there's a 4th one. Because noiser, by definition, is from a carbon. You want to keep away from a carbon. There's meila. What about the Asham Vadai? Let him bring that as well. Amalei Rav Nachman, I have another question on the Mishnah. Amalei, so he responds, of course, there would be a meila if only it would have the proper value. It would be worth at least a pruta, which is the minimal value for meila to take effect. And here we're talking that the piece of meat is not worth that much. Hence, there is no asham vale for meila. Amalei, the last special pruta doesn't have a shavu pruta. By mikar, the special pruta asking, but in the earlier cases in the Mishnah, which refer to kodesh, apparently there is a shavu pruta there because the Mishnah clearly obligates him an asham for eating that piece. The Ktani asham vadi brings an asham vadi. Amalei, he says, yeah, that's regular meat. Here we're talking about spoiled meat. It's nicer. It's past the time. And that's why it's not worth very much. Amalei, that piece of hegdish in the previous cases, the loy noiser, that's not noiser. The loy noiser here, and therefore shavu pruta, as opposed to our story. There's a gersa that adds another piece. The noiser, but in our case, it's noiser loy shavu pruta. It's not worth a pruta because it's spoiled. And says the Gemara, but don't we remember that Mishnah back on the Yud Gimel? A fellow eats one kazayis and it triggers multiple violations, and amongst those violations we have 4 chatois and 1 asham. Amongst those we have chelev, we have noisar, and he'll bring a chatas on account of each one, but also he'll bring an asham vadai, asham ilah, because it's hegdish material. Hold it. Why asham ilah? It's nicer, it's valueless, or close to valueless. Right? We have that Mishnah, one act of achila with multiple triggers. On the list we have noiser. Ktani, what does Mishnah say? Maybe arba chatois v'asham echad. 4 times chatos, one for noiser, one for chela, right? And an asham because it's kodesh material and he committed meila. V'asham echad. Apparently, there is requisite value for even noiser material. Amarlis, he says, yeah, ibagasa. There he ate a lot, so the extra volume made up for the low value. So he ate so much, which accumulated into a shir shavu pruta. Here we're talking that he had a light meal, he had just a little piece, it wasn't worth a pruta. Another answer is, inami depends on the time of year, how spoiled it was. That's talking about that in the winter, it wasn't really spoiled, so it has value. It's in the summer, it's spoiled, and it does not have a shavu pruta. Okay, continues the Gemara. So back to the case where it was chelev and noiser in the same piece. The Mishnah says he's liable to 2. 1 chatas on account of the chelev, and 1 additional one on account of noiser. The question is, how? How could it was fat to begin with, before it became noiser. And once it had a pre-existing state of isur on it, how could you add another layer of isur? It's saturated with isur. So why would you hold him accountable for the noiser that came later? Amalei Rava, once again, Rava asked Rav Nachman, Umi Amar Rab Shimon, isur chal isur? And the Mishnah refers to Rab Shimon as well. That we have this double liability. And according to Rabbi Shimon, since when do we say isur chal al isur? One isur can be added to the previous isur. But Tani, we have a Mishnah, we have a brisa, that even if the second isur is even broader or deeper or more severe than the initial isur, you cannot add another layer of isur. Well, Tani Shimon Omer, for example, Eichel Nevela B'Yom Kippur. If one eats Nevela in Yom Kippur, so he did 2 things wrong. First of all, Nevela, but Nevela preceded Yom Kippur. It was already also before Yom Kippur came around. Potter, he's not liable for eating it on Yom Kippur. Rashi adds, even if it died today, still, it was asur before Yom Kippur. Why? Because while the animal is alive, it's also asur. It's even achai. You can't consume a live animal. So, basically, we have an isur that preceded Yom Kippur's arrival, so you can't add an additional layer of Isser, despite the fact that Yom Kippur really is a much broader Isser. It applies to all foods, and it carries much heavier consequence. There's kares, right? Nevela is only a lav. It doesn't matter. So likewise over here. Why is Noiser going to be applied to Chelev? Amar Rav Shisha Beit Ravidi. You're right. We're not holding him doubly accountable for the Chelev. He ate a kidney of the carbon with the fat that came along with it. So really he ate two portions. The Chelev is Chelev, and the Kolya is accountable because of its Noiser status. So we're not doubling up Isurim. Each one has its own Isur. Asked the Gemara, but there too, how could you hold him accountable for a Noiser on the Kolya? The Kolya belongs on the Mizbeach. It's one of the Imurim, one of the portions that belong on the Mizbeach, and one is meant to keep away. It's called Oilen. There's an Isur to eat Oilen. And that Isur was active before it became Noiser, was not beyond the time. So that preempts it from arriving. The Kolya b'chelba nami there too hakoy Allah b'isur oilen. He shouldn't be eating it. It's oilen, and if so, it locks the door for any future isurim to arrive. Hechi asi isur noiser. How could the isur noiser come around and land on that isur chayla? Perhaps you'll say it's fair that Reb Shimon holds. Not all isurim are created equal. If the second isur is heavier, is more severe, carries deeper consequences, then it could be added. The Noiser Isser Chamarhu, since Noiser is a heavier Isser, there's Kares, and therefore, V'chayil Isser Kal, the Oilen would land on the lighter Isser Oilen, which is only a lav. That's incorrect, says the Gemara. We'll disprove that notion from Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, despite being a deeper Isser, will not land on Nevela. Nevela the Isser Kalu. Nevela, despite being a lighter Isser, Yom Kippur being a heavier Isser, they don't merge. And the Isser Yom Kippur, which is more severe, will not come and apply itself onto that pre-existing Isser, B'chayil al Nevela Dekal, who, despite the fact that it's lighter. So, back to the question. Why will Noiser be activated upon Chelev? Says the more you're right, when it comes to other matters, we do not double up Isurim. Elabik Kachim are different. Carbon materials have their own system. Gali Rachman Torah revealed to us, Da'asi, Isur, Chal Isur. Yes, we do double up Isurim. We turn to the sound. Asher Hashem l'Rabba Seimurim. Pasuk warns a fellow who is tummy from eating carbon material, and that Isur applies even to Imurim. Portions of the carbon which were never meant to be eaten to begin with, meant for the Mizbeach. And now if he's tummy, he's liable for that too. How? Why? It's already an item which is Asr. It's inherently Asr before he came around. If it's just, like the kidney and things like that, there's an Isr of Oilen. And if it's fat, v'chelev, then for sure it's Asr, it's fat. Koi alayib Isr karis on that. Nevertheless, we double it up because the Isser Tumah and this new Isser of eating it while you're tummy comes and gets applied upon that pre-existing Isser Chaylalei. That proves to us that in matters of karbanos, we treat it differently. We do double up Isser. Matei Shekena, I'll even prove to you from a different angle that it's correct, that Kachim run a different track. The Rebbe, because Rebbe, severely, he holds Isser Chal Isser. When do we say one Isser can be added to the pre-existing Isser? Only if the second Isser is more severe than the first one. But certainly if the second one is lighter, is easier than the first, it won't get added. That's a general rule. And by Kachim we find that it does. Whereas by Kachim we hear that he says, Isser Kal, al Isser Chamer. Even a lighter Isser can be added to a pre-existing severe Isser. Where do we find that? The Isser Me'ilah Kalu, because the Isra of Me'ilah is relatively lighter than the Isra of Chelev, which is Karis. Here it's just Misa, death by heaven, which doesn't have the same weight as Karis. Ben Gershon says it doesn't affect the person's kids as opposed to Karis, which does. Rashi adds that there's no Chatos option by Misa. So Me'ilah, despite being relatively lighter, the Isra, they change it to Chelev, Isra Chomer, which is kares. And still, va'as isur misa, chayil isur kares. We find that me'ilah gets applied to chaylev, despite being a lighter isur. So why is it that we're adding a lighter to a heavier? That goes against the rules. Where do we find that is so? The sign of a brayso. Rabbi Oima kol chayil Hashem, which is the pasuk by me'ilah. Don't do me'ilah even on the chaylev. The rabbi say murei kachim kal me'ilah. The fats of the shlamim, right? If one misuses them, there's me'ilah. Even though the item is inherently asur already, because of its chaylev status. U'me'ilah, which we're adding now, is isur misa, which again is relatively lighter. Nevertheless, it lands on the isur chaylev, which is a heavier. So Shema, what does that confirm to us? That in matters of kachim, it has its own system. But kachim by kachim Torah revealed to us that we do double up isur. And likewise, according to Reb Shimon, who generally does not double isurim, even Yom Kippur on the Vela, right? But by kachim it's different. And that explains why now Mishnah is liable for the chaylev plus the noiser on the same piece. Ask the Gemara, is that so? According to Reb Shimon, by kachim we make exception, we double up isurim. Ratan we have a brayso that it's not so. Reb Shimon Omer ain't pigel ba'olam, very noiser ba'olam. Once something is oilan, it's meant for mizbech, it's off limits. And even if it turns pigel, it turns noiser, there's no additional liabilities, despite being kachim. El tanoi, you're right. Machlekes Tanaim, two versions of Reb Shimon's opinion. I'll leave the Reb Shimon. Some say dikadamri kachim when matters of a kachim, we do double things up. Isur chalal isur. Dikadamri, but others hold that according to Reb Shimon, even by kachim, bekachim nami ein isur chalal isur. We don't double things up even by kachim. Now, according to that opinion, according to that second opinion, what about this pasuk of Kol Chayil Hashem, which we understood to be teaching that we apply me'ilah even to chaylev? Mayavali, what does it do with that pasuk? How could me'ilah apply to chaylev if it's already asur? Oh, we'll find a case where it's going to happen simultaneously. If it happens with us achas, all agree, you're accountable for both. Because there was none first, none second. Both came together in tandem. Mukimle, who'll apply that pasuk of Vladi Kachim, offspring of Karbanis. In which case, both Isur, the Isur of Chaylev, of that newborn, and the Isur of Me'ilah happen at the same moment as it's being born. So of course, they both get activated at the same time. Because they hold Vladi Kachim, Ba'avyasam, when do they get Kedusha Ba'avyasam? As they're born, you Kedush. Rashi says we refer to Lashon Ba'avyasam because that's the pasuk. Asher yu l'cha ilah v'lades. We learned the idea of v'lades from Yiyu. Hence the terminology Ba'avyasam yu Kedush. The Tarvaya, in this case, both factors arrive simultaneously. B'hadadi also. Now Taisus asks, first of all, meal only happens after Zrika, not as he's born. So he says, although the full-fledged, full-weight meal only happens later, but the Isser applies as he's being born. Another kasha asked Taisus is, we find in the Gemara Chulin that the person detaches the chaylev from the unborn animal within the mother, it's considered Isser chaylev. And here we're saying it only happens as it's being born. So Taisus says, it's Isser as soon as you take it out of the mother. It has to disengage from the mother's environment. So, basically in our case, as it's being born, both things are happening together. The Me'ilah lands and the Yisro Chaylev lands. Okay, so we had this very long Mishnah, discussed many elements of Chiyuvei Karban. We had one Shaila regarding the Hashem Tali on the Safek Me'ilah, which is a Kiva's Shita. Then we had a question of all kinds of cases of sveikos, what to do, whether it's pertaining to one person, to two people, whether we can share karbanos, yes, no. Then we discussed the idea of the noiser being held accountable for me'ilah as well, depends if it has a pruta. And then we discussed why the isser noiser at all applies to chaylev, which is already aser. The answer to that was, even according to Shimon, by kachim, isser chal isser in this type of circumstance. Hadron of Dam Shchita. Okay, Randall Perek says the Mishnah, maybe Asham Tali. A fellow set aside an Asham Tali thinking that perhaps he ate chalev, and then he discovered the true facts. Untrue. He reviewed the footage, the video, and he realizes it was a non-starter. It turns out that he didn't sin. What happens to the carbon? It depends. If it's still before shchita, send it back to the farm. Send it out. Let it wander in the farm with the other animals. According to Rav Meir, when a fellow designates an Asham Tali, it's only on account of a sin, only on a chance that he's chayev. It's like a conditional hegdish. He didn't have a mind to commit it regardless. So if it turns out that it's unnecessary, he takes it back home. No, you commit it to the cause. Yirachi stuff, let it pass until it gets a blemish. Yimachal, let it be sold. People the money is sent to the nadava to purchase oilos for the mizbeach. According to the Chachamim, you've committed yourself to the cause regardless. Rolezo Aimer, Yikrav. What's the issue? Just proceed. Bring it as an Asham Tali. What do you mean? How could you? I never did anything. Look, chances are you did something. Shem Einei Bal Chet Zeh. If it's not coming to address this sin, how are you Bal Chet Ach? I bet you have something else to atone for. Interestingly, Reb Lezer holds he can donate an Asham Tali, as we're going to see later in the parak. This is all if the facts were discovered early enough. But if you discover the facts after shchit, it's too late. So now it turns out that it was really unnecessary. It's really chulin, a non-carbon, which was shechten the azara. So it's possible yishavach adam, the blood is spilled out, but basar on the flesh, you burn. Yetil beis hasreif. What if nizrak adam? He proceeded to the zrika as well, and then he discovered the fact. Too late. It's done. Yachal, eat it, enjoy it. Give it to the kayanim. Enjoy it. Why? So Rashi on the first wide line says, Shari Gomar Kala Kapara. Look, the Asham Tali accomplished his destiny, accomplished his job. Asham Tali Kasher. Why Shari Al Safik Mitchila Bekibar Safik V'halach? The whole purpose of Asham Tali was to address this uncertainty. Look, while you processed him, you were still in a state of uncertainty. He accommodated you. He did his job. Great. It's a kosher carbon. Rabbi Yossi takes it a step further. Even if the dam of the Asham Tali is still in the container before the zrika, proceed. The train started rolling on the track. You're ready en route. You're in the process. So again, by Asham Tali, if it's pre-shchita, we have machlekes. Rameir says, take it home. Chacham say you have to donate it. Rabbi Lezer says, proceed with the Asham Tali. Once the shchita was done, it's possible. Once you got the zrika going, it's kosher. Now this is by Asham Tali. There the Chacham say, look, even if it was discovered to be unnecessary, you've committed yourself, regardless. But Asham Vadi, and it came to Asham Vadi, all agree that if it was discovered to be unnecessary and still early in the process, before shchita, take it home. Imad Shalei Nishchat, if it's still pre-shchita, Yeitze, Yirabeidah, send it back to the farm. Mishin Nishchat, but after shchita, too late, there's a yikav, you got to bury it. Nizrak Adam after the zrika, turned out to be a mistake. Abasa Yeitze Beis HaShrei, you got to burn the basar. Because all agree the Asham Tali is only being offered on account of that sin. Turned out that he didn't sin, it's a non-starter. So before shchita, send it to the farm. After shchita was a toas. It's possible. Likewise, Shar Niskal came. Show which was condemned by the Bezdin, about to be stoned for killing somebody. In that case, again, if it was a mistake, take it back home. Imat Shalei Niskal, before the skila, Yeitze, Yirbeid, send it back to the farm. Mishin Niskal after skila, Mutabar, no. After they stoned it, turned out to be unneeded, unnecessary. In fact, turned out to be untrue. You could have enough from it. It doesn't have the status of a Shar Niskal. Likewise, Egel Rufeina came. The calf, which is beheaded on account of the victim found on the road, identity of the attacker unknown. So again, it runs a different system. Turns out to be unneeded, and it's still early enough in the process, take him home. Actually, never before it was beheaded. After that reef was done, to cover him, come you buried because it accomplished its purpose. Very similar to the Asham Tali. Shal Safik Ba'a Mitchila. Initially, it was meant to address confusion, uncertainty, and it did its job. Was Machaper di Safik, and it moved on. Meaning, although now you've discovered the facts, but at the time when you processed the Eglah Grufa, did you know the facts? No, it was a suffix. So it addressed that suffix. It was machaper that suffix for the time being. And it's considered a successful process. Okay, so back to the Asham Tali, which turned out to be unnecessary. What do you do with it? Before Shechita, Ramir says, take it back home, because it was only designated on account of that chance. It was conditional. Unneeded, back home. Chacham say, once it's Kaddish, it remains Kaddish. B'mai Peligi, what's the point of this machlokes? Rabbi Yirsavar, given lo tzarech lei, lo maglish lei. He doesn't need it. He never gave it away. It was on condition. Unneeded, it's back home. Rabbanan Savri, no. He's committed to the cause regardless. Why? Since he's very concerned that perhaps he ate that chilaf. Goymeru magdish. He fully commits it to hekdesh, irrespective of the actual facts involved. Perhaps this could be explained based on the Gemara we had the other day, that we find that Torah is more machmir on a suffix than a vadai. Back on the Chabbez on base. Look, a person eats chaylev, he brings a chatas, which can be worth, a danka, a little coin, very cheap. Asham Tali, he's not sure if he ate the chaylev. It costs him an asham bekesef shkolim, way more costly. So why is that? The Mefarshim explained, or in Yom Brachos, actually the Ramon or Chaim Shulchan Aruch brings it, because look, it's much easier for a person to regret to do teshuvah when it's a confirmed avera, when he knows he did something wrong. He comes around, does teshuvah, as opposed to when he's not sure. So he's banking on that possibility that in fact he did not sin. It's very hard to tell Hashem, I'm sorry, I may have sinned. Right? So it's not as deep and genuine compared to a teshuvah on a confirmed sin. And that's why the Torah makes it more costly, more weighty, more substantial, to bring him to a true teshuvah, a level 1 teshuvah, as opposed to just a level 2, which is a shaky, suffix type of a teshuvah. So perhaps this can be explained as well. This fellow wants to express a serious teshuvah. So he knows that if he just puts aside the Asham Tali on account of the possibility, it isn't necessarily going to take him up to the high level of teshuvah, the more serious, genuine teshuvah, because he's always thinking, perhaps it's not even applicable. Look, in a couple of minutes I'll find out the truth, I'll bring it home. He wants to attain a true teshuvah. Look, he may have really sinned. He wants to ensure that he goes through a proper teshuvah process. True, genuine, valid, deep teshuvah. See what he does? He programs his mindset as though he really did the Avera. Instead of thinking, maybe not. No. Let's assume I did. And I will do teshuvah accordingly. And give away this korban on all accounts, regardless of what happens. With the assumption, I did sin. So this designation is an absolute designation, expressing his serious teshuvah with the mindset that he did sin. And this ensures that it's a real teshuvah and real kapara. Hence, the Rabbanan hold, even if later on it turns out that it wasn't really needed, it doesn't matter. Because he programmed himself with the mindset that he did do an Avera. And accordingly, he designated the korban as though it was a vadai. to be Kaddish regardless of what happens down the road. Since he's concerned about the possibility, he assumes he did it, and he designates his carbon, no questions asked, no strings attached, to ensure that he really comes to the true, genuine teshuvah. Tana, the Brisa adds that it goes both ways. This machlekes between Rameir says turns out to be unneeded, you take it home. And the Rabban will say it's committed regardless. Applies whether, like in the case of the Mishnah, he discovered that he did not sin. On the flip side as well, whether he discovered that he did sin, in which case Hashem Tali doesn't address it anymore. He needs to bring a real chatos. In that case as well, we have the same machlekes. What to do with the Hashem Tali? Rameir says take it home. Rabban say it's committed. Tana ben shened l'shechata, whether he discovered that he did sin, in which case he has to bring a real chatos, or ben shened l'shechata, or he discovered that he did not sin. Pligi Rameir Rabbanon, the same machlekes applies. The Gemara explains that there's a need to highlight both factors, both variations. Ben shened l'shechata, the reason why the Brisa highlighted the case where he discovered that he did sin, to highlight Rameir's shita, the avagal the other shechata, even though it was discovered that he really did sin. Don't think that he committed to the carbon regardless. The Hashem Tali. After all, way back when he designated it, at that point he didn't know. Lo yada. He had no clue. He was unsure. And he only had a mind on condition. And therefore, to take it back to the farm. And Parshim explained, there's room to think perhaps, since it turned out that he really did sin, so maybe he was agreeable that on that chance the Hashem Tali should be committed regardless, because he wants to have protection. Hashem Tali affords temporary protection until the chatos is brought. No, answer is no. If it turned out that he really did sin, so the Hashem Tali now is unnecessary, and they're at kedusha. On the other hand, in the case we discovered that he did not sin, that he's innocent, there we are highlighting Rabbanon's shita, and still it's kaddish. To highlight Rabbanon's shita, even though it turns out that he never sinned, he's totally innocent. Given the didn't since way back when he was mafresh, he didn't know this fact, so he took it with all seriousness to the highest level. Assumed that he sinned, and he was magdish all the way. Liboy naikva hava, he was liboy naikva. Hilkach kama magdish. Therefore, it was a full commitment and a full kedusha regardless. Okay, so we have the Mishnah of Hashem Tali. Turns out that it was either loichato, or as the Brisa adds, noid l'shachato. Either way, the Hashem Tali is not applicable at this point. What to do? Rameir says take it home. Rabbanan say it's kaddish. That's before shchita. After shchita, then it's chulin ba'azoram. It's possible, but after Zrika, or according to Rabbi en route to Zrika, well, then it accomplished its destiny. It was machaper on the suffix, just like we say by the Egla Rufa, it was machaper the suffix, in which case, it is a successful car. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha.